My name is Benjamin Poole, and when I was 23, I gave my life savings to a broker who lost it all. But this taught me an invaluable lesson. I needed to educate myself to make my own financial decisions. Fast forward 20 years, I am no longer living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to share everything I've learned with you. Welcome to Financially Fit.
5, 3, 2.
Hi.
Welcome to Financially Fit. My name is Benjamin Poole.
My name is Lawton Ho, and we're here for another Q&A.
That's right.
Yeah. So for those of you who are new, this is how it works. I'm going to read out questions in the YouTube live chat, but first I'm going to read questions. I'm going to prioritize questions, rather, that were left in our members dashboard. You can go to verifiedinvesting.com, go to our free members dashboard, and every single Tuesday around 11 o'clock, I make a post asking for questions for this segment. So,
yeah, and it's the nice thing is it's absolutely free. So this is just our way of giving back to you guys for being supportive.
Cool. All right, so let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So Nancy has a question for you.
All right, Nancy, what's your question? Is it chart related?
Not a chart related.
Not chart related.
It's chart related, but you
Okay.
don't need to bring up a chart. Or you could if you want to. I have
All right.
no idea. Nancy says, I have noticed that sometimes Gareth uses spot charts when trading. Does it matter which type of chart you use, spot versus futures, and why? And also, does the exchange matter? Binance, Coinbase, etc. Does that matter?
It depends on what exactly you're trading. It sounds like you're talking about crypto, and it depends on if the crypto you're talking about is on the exchange that you're using. So some people trade spot, some people trade futures. It really depends on your trading strategy, trading style. But for the most part, it's spot crypto when you're trading. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go to the next question. Paul says, and you're gonna need to go to your chart here. All right, do you see any technical resistance for GoDaddy? The chart has been straight up, and it seems like it needs a rest. What would be a good short entry and a stop out level?
All right, so here is my chart of GoDaddy. All right, so here's what I'm noticing. Right, so you've got this parallel channel, and how you dictate a parallel channel, you take one pivot high, one pivot, and then you connect it and you draw this, you have this nice little tool, parallel channel tool, and you connect it with two lows. That creates your parallel channel. So right now, we are actually trading outside of the parallel channel, and when stocks or any crypto or anything trades outside of a parallel channel, unfortunately, there's no resistance. What we did, and let me go ahead and zoom in on this chart for you guys. You did have a topping tail on the daily, but that actually got negated. Oh, you can't see this. So you had this topping tail on GoDaddy, but unfortunately it closed above it. And so really right now, there's no resistance. And so the reason that you need resistance is you need selling pressure. You need somebody who's in some pain that is willing to get out of pain. And so when you're looking at a big red bar candle, if you were to have gotten here and gotten lower, you come back up, this red bar candle would be a lot of resistance, because in order to sell into this, there have to be buyers who are picking up the shares. So right here, there are no sellers, right? There are just a bunch of buyers. I mean, you got to sell a little bit up here, but nobody's really in pain. Nobody's in pain right at this level. I will say, though, if you zoom in, you do have what's called a time count. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up days in a row, which probabilities dictate there should be a pullback. Now, it can get even more extended. It could go to 9 or 10 days. But typically, when you see that kind of a price extension, then you are due for a pullback. So I can actually see it going back into the parallel channel, although there's no resistance. Just the extended move generally offers you some resistance.
Gotcha. Okay. From our YouTube live chat, Dave Stewart says, great insight on APPS last week.
Oh, nice.
Does it have more upside?
APPS. Let me double check on that.
APPS.
I look at lots of charts. Yeah, it was APPS was going into earnings, and it actually had it was beaten down. Usually when a stock is beaten down going into earnings, it usually has a big pop. So just basically looking at the charts right now, you have this pivot low right here, and then you'll have this price action and pivot high right here. So let me go ahead and draw my lines in here. So this is going to be your support and resistance zones. Let me erase this. Okay, so right in here is your price action and your choppiness. As you can see, we're trading in here right now. So what you're looking for APPS to do is chop inside of this a little bit more, right under this resistance level, right at $3.36. So if you can start getting some consolidation here, then it's going to move up probably to $4.21 level, because that's where I have additional resistance. As you can see, there's a pivot high right here. So this is the selling pressure that I was talking about. There's a lot of people caught in here, and there's still a fair amount of people caught in this zone. So yes, I do see further upside. Now, if you start breaking down and going below this, then you have further downside. So that's just something to watch out for. You want price consolidation towards the top end, further upside. Towards the lower end, you got downside.
Okay. Next question. I'm trying to think of find one that's not direct. You have to go look at that chart. Okay. What percentage, this is from Upriver Rafting on our app.
In our app, okay.
On our app, they say, what percentage of time does bullish and bearish divergence work out probability-wise? How long can it take for bullish divergence to play out? When would bullish divergence no longer be valid?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't done research on how often bullish and bearish divergence ends up playing out. I want to say 100% of the time. Now, with that caveat, there's no determination on when or how long bullish divergence or bearish divergence can last. I mean, it can last for a really long time. I remember looking at a chart of Eli Lilly, and it started putting in bearish divergence, but the stock just kept going for a year and a half. And so eventually, yes, it'll play out. Do you know the exact time frame? That's the thing, is you don't know the exact time frame, which is why we don't use it's an additional indicator, but we don't necessarily use it as our primary source to go short or go long something.
Okay, gotcha. Back to the charts. Stasira says, can you please analyze DXC? I'm thinking about a long position. What would be a good entry point to DXC?
DXC Technology. All right. I don't know how big this company is. Wow. This chart is really beaten up. All right. So just from first glance, it looks like it's put in. So you had this all-time low right here, right? So at $8.25. So $8.25 would be the line in the sand. So what I do notice is you've got this pivot point right here. So what I would do is I would take a pivot, what is it called? This little tool right here, a Fibonacci tool. So I'll walk you guys through this. Fibonacci tool, take it from this pivot low to this pivot high. And then I'm going to zoom in for you guys. I don't know why it's not zooming in. There we go. Okay. So if you're going to go long, based on the fact that you have this pivot right here, I would either wait for the 618, maybe do a small starter position, 786, or the 886. This one's my all-time favorite, the 886. When it gets down to this level, you can draw a trend line from here, and that's usually where you're going to get your bounce. It's probably a little bit lower, but I like the 886 for an entry, and the reason is if you notice that the bottom or the 0 level isn't too far away from the 886 level. So if I was going to go long, it's here, and then put a stop, maybe on a close below that on a daily closing basis to minimize the amount of risk. So my answer is 1559 for like a starter position, and then you know that basically a 50% drop and you're back to the all-time lows. So that would be my my entry for that if I was going to go long.
Okay. I kind of have a combination of questions. People are asking about, a lot of people in our chat, even in Garrett's game plan, ask about uranium a lot. But one of the questions says, why do the charts of SRUUF and URA look completely different? Both are uranium, but SRUUF has been in a descending wedge since January or February, and URA has fallen out of an upward channel going back to October of 23. And somebody else asked, could you chart uranium on the 4-hour/daily, please?
I will do the second question. I haven't actually done research on the uranium. I don't. So commodities is something that Gareth tackles a lot. So I haven't dove into those particular charts. So to walk you through or to tell you why one is trading a certain way and the other one's trading a different way, I don't know. One could have something to do with the futures contracts. Could be a 2x leverage. So yeah, I don't know on that one. But yeah, what's the uranium chart?
URA?
URA.
Take a look at the 4-hour/daily.
Global X uranium.
From Irish Joe Crypto.
All right, well, here's the uranium chart that I have. Anyways, let me erase this. So you had a head and shoulders pattern. I think I went over this in one of my other financially fit sessions. All right. Right now, let me switch to the 4-hour. Go over the chart. I really appreciate you guys who ask, like, do you see it bullish or bearish? You know, do you see an entry level or a target? So right now we're inside of a parallel channel, and you've got a head and shoulders inside of a parallel channel. So if you're looking at this, you drop below the midline of this parallel channel. And so that means that it was support. And I'll zoom in so you guys can see that it was support. So anytime you drop underneath support, right here, it's going to be now resistance. So if it comes back up to this level, the midline, that would be a possible short entry. Now it could push up a little bit, but ultimately I think it's going to hit the lower end of this parallel channel. So let me go ahead and zoom back out so you guys can see where that potential target is. So the entry would probably be around 26.65. Now this pivot low right here, you're going to have some significant resistance. And so even if it goes up here, you're going to have this resistance in this red bar candle. So you might start your position right here or maybe at this tail and then get to this point and add to your position. But your downside target would be right around $19.50, give or take, depending on how it gets in there and at what point. So this would be my downside target. Okay, so this is what it looks like. That's an arrow. So that's how I feel like uranium's going to go based on the charts. Now, if it does come back up here and retests this neckline, it's still got potential for more downside. So this is why you would possibly start a position here, add here, and then add here, and then your stop out would be any close above on a daily closing basis of the neckline.
Okay. I have a longer question for you.
Longer question. All right, here we go.
Okay, from John. John saying, hi guys, from Gareth's trendline analysis, we're looking potentially at the following areas to short. SPY at 543 to 547.
Okay.
QQQ at 460.
Perfect.
NVIDIA at 121. Apple at 220, etc.
Yeah.
However, both the MACD and RSI are looking very positive. So is that a reason not to short at this point? Thanks a lot, John.
Ooh, it really depends on what your overall horizon is. If you're looking at Some of these levels are day trade levels. Some of them are swing trade levels. You can still use those levels. Those levels would probably act as like a 10 to 15% retrace. And again, they're trend lines, right? So if you've got a downsloping trend line right here, and price moves into it, then you can look for a pullback 10 to 15%. Price consolidates right below, it's probably looking for a move higher. So it will still be resistance regardless of what the RSI says. So I guess it comes back to the whole idea of when does RSI play out, right? Right now, you wouldn't have. Let me go to the SPY, and I'll pull up the RSI. So here's the SPY, and here's the RSI. So you do have this up move on the RSI, but you've also got an up move on the SPY. So this downsloping trend line right here, let me draw this in. Downsloping trend line right here is still valid, right? So if it comes up to here, just because the RSI is here, doesn't mean anything, right? So if RSI hadn't come down here and it was chopping here, then it might want to move a little bit higher. But if the RSI is moving in tandem with the price action, then you just leave it alone, right? So yeah, I still see this as being major resistance, right? And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candles. It gets up here, you're looking at the 618, so 544 area. Yeah, I think it's a great shortable level. Great entry.
Cool. We can fire off some quick ones.
All right.
So this is going to be a mini game called
Mini game?
Mini game.
Okay.
Called bullish or bearish. Bullish or bearish.
Oh yeah, we used to do that.
I'm going to give you a chart and you tell me if it's bullish or bearish.
Okay, here we go.
Right, from Dom. Dom says UPST. Short term.
Upstart. Woo! Short term bearish.
It's bearish?
Bearish.
You didn't even pull it up.
I don't need to.
You already know?
Yeah, I look at UPST all the time.
Let's see.
Yeah, this thing is rocking though. This thing is so oversold on a daily time frame.
Oversold, overbought?
I mean overbought, thank you.
Yep.
Words are tough sometimes.
Always.
All right. So let's just take a look at the idea of consumer spending, right? So UPST is a buy now, pay later type of a chart or a company. Mm-hmm. If you get all these people who are defaulting, yeah, inflation's come in a little bit, fine, but inflation's still high. Gas prices are still high. Grocery bills are still high. Yes, it's coming in. You go buy now, pay later. What happens when the consumer is putting all their groceries on a buy now, pay later? So you've got this week's groceries that you're still paying on as you're eating it, and then you get to the end of the week, you're like, oh no, I need more groceries.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna put it on? You didn't have cash the last time. You're still paying on it. Last week's groceries that you've already finished, but you're hungry again. Mm-hmm. Are you gonna keep buying? Yeah. This is how the consumer works. I mean, this is how human nature works. We don't like to go backwards in our spending, in our lifestyles. So I see this going further down. So here's what you're looking for, right? This is on the 4-hour time frame. We can even go with the 10-minute time frame. You've got this up pattern, right? So if you can get a break below this upsloping trend line right here. So you've got this pivot low, you've got this price action right here, this big up move, but we start coming back in, and you could even be putting in shoulder, head, shoulder pattern, and then you could take the target, so price action here, take the movement here, and then look for that same move on the break to the downside. So I think this is going further down.
Okay.
However, as soon as it starts breaking this level right here, then it'll probably want to go further higher. But at least in the meantime, I'm bearish on this chart.
Bullish or bearish SMH?
SMH.
Bullish or bearish?
Well, I mean, you're asking basically, are you bullish or bearish on semiconductors, right? what do you think is going to happen with NVIDIA and SMCI and ARM and stuff like that? So look at this chart. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. I love to see something like this. You got this big move up, and then you've got this price consolidation on this, basically a wedge pattern. This is the 10-minute chart. This is a bearish pattern. If you start breaking below this, and I don't know if you guys can see that because it seems pretty far away, but this is a very, very, very bearish pattern. I'm going to erase this, go here. Here's what it looks like on a zoomed in chart, right? So you connect these right here, and then you take this right here. I use this all the time with trading crypto or in the stock market. You get a break here, and you've got further downside. This is the 10-minute chart, and so if it breaks today, then it's got further downside. And essentially, it's NVIDIA and SMCI and ARM and AMD and Dell and all those other semiconductors that will also roll over when this happens, because that's what's keeping SMH up.
Okay, let's do two more.
Two more, okay.
Two more. It doesn't have to be bullish or bearish, just two more regular question. That was our segment of bullish or bearish. So join us next time for bullish or bearish. Now back to our regular scheduled programming. Two more questions. Okay, let's see. In our chat, Jeno says, could you analyze the Shiba Inu token? Thank you. I don't think that's one we've talked about before.
Is it SHIB, right?
I have no idea.
SHIB. I hope this is the one. I mean,
You can probably tell by the, oh. I'm not totally sure the ticker.
just want to make sure I have the right one.
Yeah.
All right, daily time frame. So what I look at is trend lines, just like I did on the SMH, support and resistance. So here's what I'm noticing just right off the bat. This was a spin-off of basically making fun of Dogecoin.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so right now you've got this down-sloping channel, trend line. So you've got this pivot high, connects through here. This would be the third hit of this trend line. So it actually favors more of a downside move. However, if it hits here, it starts consolidating here, breaks out, you can get a move up to this down-sloping trend line. And so this one, because it's a longer term trend line, is actually going to be a lot more resistance. And so if you go long on the breakout or you wait for a retrace, you can take your profits at this down-sloping trend line. A lot of this is going to have to be determined on what Bitcoin does, and the rest of the altcoins. This is not going to trade independently of Bitcoin or the other altcoins. So you just got to watch what the rest of them are doing. It's actually staying, at least in my opinion, fairly weak comparatively. Actually, I just noticed one thing I will say is you do have this up move right here in the sideways consolidation. And so short term, if it does hit here, again, you might get a little bit of a pullback. But what you're looking for is time counts. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in a couple days, you're going to get either a significant pullback or you should get a decent move higher. So I just noticed that as well.
Okay, for our last question, I will let you pick. But, however, all I got to say is, guys, we can't get to all these questions. There are a million questions.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We love it. We wouldn't be able to have this show without you. But if you want to make sure all of your questions and even more are answered, you can book a private session with Benjamin Poole during our private trading sessions.
That's right. In the Verified Investing Network.
Yep. Anyways, okay, I'll let you pick. We have a question about JetBlue, finding a bottom. We have a question for someone in a Neo trade, and he's 52% down. And we have someone in chat with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 messages asking about a chart. The
Just
same chart.
9 messages on the same chart?
About the same chart.
What chart is it?
SEI. I think we did this last time too. I don't know what this
Ooh,
is.
Yeah, I don't have any data on this. I couldn't do you service on this particular chart, even going back to the weekly. There's just not enough consistency in this one. I mean, I guess if I spent more time analyzing it, you've got this kind of pseudo head and shoulders pattern. What I would look for is a break of this trend line, which it looks like it's doing. Get a break, and then you got further downside, probably go into this gap fill, and then you've got this wedge pattern. I'm not going to go over this chart though, because there's just, again, not enough data. Yeah, not enough data. However, this is what you're looking at. A break to the upside, you got further upside, break to the downside, and you're probably going to this gap fill. Anyway, so let's go to NEO.
Okay, so let me read the question from Hasser. It says, hey guys, I'm in a NEO trade. I'm 50% down.
Ooh.
My average, 52% down. My average is 801.
Okay.
Can you find ad levels on the chart, and what is good for me to bring my average down? What would the max upside be if the chart started to rally?
All right, well, right now, just looking at it, you're onto some support right now, which is this previous low right here from April. All right, so there's a couple different ways you can attack something like this, right? So let's say that you're down on the trade, and you enter right here, and you doubled your position. There's this thing called first in, first out, which means that if this is the last entry that you had and you doubled your position to try to get your dollar cost average in, it starts breaking this line right here, closes below on a daily closing basis. You can actually take those last in, last in, and you can take those out first, meaning that your average will stay at 801, but these shares you will lose, like 35 cents on. So that's one way you can do it. Also, if you were to take your dollar cost average, or you wanted a dollar cost average into it, what you would do is you could take 50%, so double your position, and then if it gets back to, up to $5, that actually might be kind of your break even, but gets to this red bar high, and you say, all right, so I got in at $3.80. Now I'm going to take the last shares that I had, and I'm going to get those out first. So then you're capitalizing on those shares right here. So it doesn't necessarily bring your entire average back in, because you still have those shares that you have at 801, but at least you can capitalize on the up movement to the upside. So that is one way to do it. Or you can just dollar cost average. Maybe you add a quarter of your position here, or half of your position here, and then if it drops below this, you've got a couple different support levels here as well. So you've got this level right here. You've got this is a gap window, and then a little bit lower where my cursor's at, 237-ish, is a gap fill, and so you could add another quarter position there. So starting a quarter position here, or half position here, then you've got a full position, and then it would really bring your average in. So a couple different ways to play it. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this. You can also put in, if you wanted to do options, you could do options as well. So that's another way to play the trade, but that's what you could do.
Cool. And again, guys, sorry if we couldn't get to all of your questions. There's so many questions, but if you do want them answered, go ahead and book a private session with Ben. He will answer anything you want.
That's right.
Stock related or not.
That's right. Cool. Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Please keep in mind that this is for educational purposes only. Do your own research, and we'll see you next time on Financially Fit. Take care.
See you later. SCI is a crypto. How are we supposed to know that?
Huh?
Look at SEI was a crypto. Look at this guy's messages. Hello, Ben.